The Coolsville High School bus is picking up students to take them to school. Shaggy, an awkward teenager, is late for the bus, and the driver has to open the doors again to let him in. He tries to find a seat but is tripped by one of the big football players and falls. They end up laughing at him, but Fred, another player, is not happy about it. He tries to sit next to Velma, a science geek, but abandons the seat due to her getting lost in her scientific explanations. He finds a seat next to Daphne, an aspiring actress, but she is weirded out by him eating his sandwich and abandons him. When they reach school and are getting off the bus, Shaggy is again tripped by the football player, becoming a laughingstock again. At school in the locker room, Shaggy finds his locker stuck due to a prank. He forces it open, and the force lands him in a garbage bin. It sends him down the hall directly to the headmaster's office, Mr. Deal. Mr. Deal takes the opportunity to introduce Shaggy to his hobby of stamp collecting and shows him some of his rare collections with misprinted stamps. He encourages Shaggy to have the hope of getting friends who will understand and help him. Meanwhile, the pet adoption fair is going on in town, and Scooby-Doo, a dog, is waiting for a suitable family. One mother thinks the dog is too big and might eat them, so she refuses to adopt him. Another time, when he is almost accepted, he jumps on the father of a boy and licks him out of happiness. The father thinks the dog is out to assault him, and he misses his chance of getting adopted. The fair ends with Scooby not getting adopted. When he is being driven back to Animal Services, his cage mistakenly falls out of the car and breaks. He gets away but is left behind. He wanders alone and bumps into a cemetery in the middle of the night. He sees ghosts being resurrected and he runs away for his life. He crashes into Shaggy's house, and Shaggy decides to look after him because he is scared. The next day, they take the bus to school. Scooby is disguised in a jumpsuit like a student and gets on the bus. However, when Shaggy is tripped by the buff football guy again, Scooby is not happy. From their place at the back of the bus, Scooby sneaks up to the footballer and bites his heel. Angry, the guy picks up Scooby, exposing him, and Shaggy runs to the rescue. The guy jumps on Shaggy, planning to beat him up, and Fred jumps in to stop him. Velma gets in because her science project got wrecked, and Daphne is angry that her rehearsal script got interrupted. It gets into a whole mess. The driver, distracted by all the noise, veers off the road and does not pack properly, smashing into a streetlight in the school parking lot. The light falls and crashes on the vice principal's new car, breaking the windshield. The angry teacher marches into the bus and demands to see the perpetrators. Everyone points to the four of them: Shaggy, Scooby, Velma, Daphne, and Fred. The vice principal takes him to the library and gives him 2 weeks of detention, which involves spending 2 hours a day at the library with the librarian watching over them. They begin their detention, but it is very awkward between them, and they cannot get any discussions going on. As they are passing the time, it suddenly gets dark outside, and the lights start going on and off. Scooby, who is outside, decides to dig a hole in the ground to hide from the eerie weather. 2 ghosts suddenly appear in the library, and the 4 students run outside, disturbing the ongoing school pep rally. The students are scared and run away from school. Principal Grimes wants to cancel classes for the next day, but Vice Principal Grimes is having none of it. Instead, the 4 students in detention are suspended. Shaggy suggests they try to clear their names using Scooby-Doo. That night, he takes them to the cemetery where Scooby witnesses the appearance of ghosts. He takes them to the resting places of 2, Ezekiel Gallows and Prudence Prufrog. Velma recognizes their names from somewhere and decides to investigate. They meet up tomorrow at Shaggy's place. Daphne and Fred are the first to arrive. They enter the room and sit on the couch, but one of its legs breaks and Daphne lands in Fred's arms. They stand up awkwardly. Shaggy offers them some snacks, which they eat up, not knowing it is dog food. Velma arrives and she proceeds to uncover the identities of the 2 gravestones. They are former teachers of Coolsville High School from long ago. They decide to go back to school to uncover the identity of the 3rd culprit responsible for summoning the ghosts. Before they go, Velma notices a dog food smell coming from Shaggy, and he readily admits to eating dog food. Daphne and Fred try not to puke. They sneak into the school that night, and the mastermind sends the 2 ghosts after them. They possess some football statues to trail the 5 of them. They get to the pep rally site to gather evidence. They are then ambushed by the ghost-possessed mannequins and have to run for their lives. When cornered, Fred sacrifices himself to get the attention of one of the ghosts. The other chases the other 4. Daphne and Velma hide in the theater club costumes, and the ghost of Ezekiel does not find them. He goes to look for Shaggy and Scooby. Prudence scares Shaggy and Scooby into hiding in the sandwich freezer, and she locks them up in there. The next day, Fred finds Daphne and Velma heading for school, and Daphne hugs him, thinking he died last night. He asks about Shaggy and Scooby, but the two have yet to see them. At school, the vice principal brings Shaggy and Scooby from the freezer. Daphne, Velma, and Fred go to Mr. Deal to give him some information about the investigation they carried out last night at school. They are interrupted by Vice Principal Grimes, who is holding Shaggy and Scooby and accusing them of all the damage they have done. Velma, Daphne, and Fred take Shaggy's side, and they are all expelled. They decide to go back to school in disguise, and they successfully pull it off without the vice principal noticing them. Inside, Daphne and Fred check out the garbage man, but he is no suspect. He is only practicing his dancing moves. Velma goes after the librarian, but she is no suspect either. Instead, she stumbles on a spell book checked out by the vice principal. They decide to check out his house in the woods. Daphne sneaks them into her garage, and Shaggy drives them away in an old beat-up van. They get to the vice principal's house and split up to look for clues. The whole house is full of World War II toys, and the vice principal is found to be a major World War II buff. Shaggy and Scooby are the first to be attacked by the ghost possessing the toys as they begin shooting at the two of them. They run upstairs to the trio, who have found a spell book in Mr. Grimes' study. They are chased outside the house, where they find the mastermind waiting for them. He sprays them with a green compound that happens to be magnesium chloride, which puts them to sleep. They wake up at school next to a demolished hole leading down to the old Coolsville High. The mastermind reveals himself and has kidnapped Scooby and Vice Principal Grimes again, revealing he is not the vice principal. He tells them that if they want to save the dog, they must go beneath the school and find the buried time capsule. In a bout of camaraderie, they all decide to go in to save Scooby. Inside, however, they change their plans and convince the mastermind that the capsule is too heavy to carry outside. He decides to go down to help the kids, but they manage to figure out that it is all a scam, and they have yet to find the capsule. As they scurry around trying to lose the mastermind, they open a floodgate of water, and with the water, the capsule falls out of the room. The ghosts, however, begin to chase them, and they have to escape while Shaggy is trying to find the right spell to send them back. On his first try, he releases all the ghosts from the cemetery in Coolsville. The next time, however, he does the trick and sends them all back to the graveyards, and the day is saved. The mastermind is horrified, but Scooby, while landing from above the top of the school floor, manages to immobilize him. They remove his mask and find out it is only Mr. Deal wanting to get the misprinted stamp in the capsule. School goes back to normal. The vice principal grimaces, and now the principal applauds the 5 heroes in a ceremony for solving the mystery. Shaggy makes a mistake while digging a hole to bury the time capsule by throwing the hoe away, and it lands in the vice principal's new car again, breaking his windshield. As they walk home, they reluctantly part ways before Velma calls back the team to help solve another mystery at the museum. They gladly agree and begin their new friendship by solving mysteries. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to our channel. I'll be back with another interesting movie recap. Until then, take care.